Hey everyone, welcome back to Gluten Free Groupie. Today we're going to sit down and talk about celiac disease. Now again, celiac disease is my personal experience. I really do want my channel to be a place where we can have conversations about all sorts of reasons you may have to eat gluten-free, but because celiac disease is my personal experience, I wanted to sit down and talk about it. But this is just a general overview, and this is pretty much in addition to the video I made talking to people who do not have to eat gluten-free but have someone in their life that has to eat gluten-free. I encouraged everyone in that video to come watch this video. This is a video for all of you who just want to know what celiac disease is. This is hopefully a video for some of you who maybe got recently diagnosed, and then again, maybe a good refresher for some of us who want a reminder of what exactly is happening inside of our body. So I obviously find myself answering this question quite a bit whenever I'm in social settings, whenever I find myself talking to anyone and there's food around at all, I end up having to say something like, oh, I actually can't eat that, I have celiac. Some people do ask questions, some people know what it is, which is actually very few. Whenever I meet someone that says, what is that? I'm shocked because celiac disease is my whole life, and I know so many people in my life who have celiac. I just encounter on a day-to-day basis. Whenever I meet people who don't know what it is, it reminds me, oh yeah, a lot of people have no idea what this is. I think it's becoming more known, but I wanted to sit down and make this video just if you're curious. This is really just the answer I give when someone offers me food and I have to say, no, I can't eat that. And they kind of say something along the lines of, how come? How come you can't eat that? And so I give a very brief overview, and seriously, you have no idea how often I have to give this speech to people, and I don't mind. I actually like to talk about it, to explain to people, but in some ways I kind of hope this video can replace that speech so many of us have to give all the time. I find myself talking about celiac disease all the time, and that's in a way why I had to eventually just embrace it and say, okay, this is a big part of me, this is my identity. So this is just my very simple answer that I give people when they ask me, what is celiac disease? Why can't you eat gluten? So to start, celiac disease is not an allergy. So whenever I go to restaurants, I do tell them I have a gluten allergy because that's familiar to people. They know that allergies can be serious, but the truth is, celiac disease is actually not an allergy at all. Celiac disease is actually an autoimmune disease. I guess that's why it's called disease, but it's actually an autoimmune disease. And because of that, it makes it a little more fun to explain. It's not just, oh, I'm allergic to that. There's actually a little bit more to it. So here's my little brief explanation, not scientific at all, of what happens to someone's body who has celiac disease when they eat gluten. So let's start out by talking about the small intestine. Intestine? Is that like tomato, or is a better way to say it? I'm not really sure. Again, I know nothing about any of this. I only know this stuff because when I got diagnosed, I wanted to look up what in the world was happening to my body, and this is what I've learned from that. So the small intestine is where your GI tract is. And on your small intestine, there are these, I think whenever you look it up, the scientific term is like finger-like structures. So whenever I try to explain this to people, I always end up doing like this. I don't know, I picture this. So there's these finger-like structures on your small intestine that are called villi. Villi hairs, technically. Villi, V-I-L-L-I. When your food is going through your GI tract, cute. When your food is going through your GI tract, you have these villi that pick up the nutrients. So they help absorb the nutrients from the food that you eat. When someone who has celiac disease eats gluten, the villi hairs just are kind of gone. They get destroyed essentially, and there's an immune reaction on the body. So that's why it's an autoimmune disease, because when you eat gluten, there's this immune reaction is what they call it, and essentially your villi hairs are destroyed. And so that means when the food passes through your body, the nutrition doesn't get absorbed hardly at all. So this is why a huge symptom of having celiac disease is having a lot of digestive issues, because when the food is going through you, you're not even absorbing the nutrients, and this is all in your small intestine where all of this happens, and that's where it's all affected. So really, that's kind of the brief overview I give people when they say, what is celiac disease? I'm like, well, there's these things in my stomach that absorb nutrition, and when I eat gluten, they're destroyed, so I can't absorb nutrition. That's pretty much it. That's about as far as I go. There's a lot more science to it. If anyone is interested in me making a more scientific video or researching it further, I'm happy to do that. But I just really kind of wanted to give you the answer I give to my friends when they ask me what is going on in your body. So that's why this isn't really something you can cheat on. That's a question I get all the time. People always ask me, so you can't ever have gluten. You know, even if you really, really just want to have a bite of something, you can't ever have gluten. And no, you can't, because anytime you eat gluten, your villi hairs are destroyed. Now, they do build back up, which is good. But for instance, I went probably an entire year, I usually tell people 9 months to a year, where I did not start feeling better even after I went on a gluten-free diet. And that's because I had so destroyed everything going on in my small intestine that it took that long to build back up. So that's why some people are like, maybe I'll try eating gluten-free for a week and see if it helps my stomach issues. It's not going to help, because you really have to take the time to build back up your stomach. So I think it is important to understand, you know, if you're recently diagnosed, if you just know someone who has celiac, you can't cheat on this, because it's really, really important. Because if you're eating gluten and destroying that very important part of your stomach and not absorbing any nutrition that you're eating, that can lead to a lot of serious long-term health effects. And sometimes people can even be asymptomatic. For most people, there are a lot of digestive issues that you experience, but a lot of people can be asymptomatic, so you don't even realize how big of a deal it is if you were to eat gluten. But there are so many different symptoms you can experience. You can hop over to my celiac story where I talk about my symptoms, but people have so many different symptoms for this and so many different health effects because of it, because it really does destroy a very, very vital part of your digestive system. You know, and it's great that we can essentially cure this disease. There's not really a cure, but you can treat it. That's the word I wanted. You can treat it by not eating gluten, and that is so cool, you know, that we do have an autoimmune disease, but we know exactly how to treat it. And sometimes it really does feel like having an autoimmune disease. It's not that I just get sick when I eat gluten. I can be sick most of the time. I mean, it sounds like I'm complaining and I don't want to, but whenever I feel really good and healthy after eating something, or just waking up in the morning and feeling good and healthy and not having any stomach issues, that's actually rare for me. It is more rare than normal when I eat something or I just wake up and I feel good. So I hope that helps you to understand a little bit more. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. There's going to be a little logo that pops up here in just a second. Yeah, that probably, it might even be on this side, I don't know. A little GF logo that you can click and subscribe to continue along with all of these videos. And thank you guys, as always, so much for watching Gluten Free Groupie.